Darkness fell upon Boston. The year was 1775. The city, cloaked in the shadows of night, seemed to hold its breath. Every corner, every alleyway was filled with an uneasy silence, broken only by the distant sound of marching boots. Tension hung heavy in the air. British soldiers patrolled the streets, their faces grim and determined. Their presence was a constant reminder of the Crown's authority, an authority that was increasingly being questioned by the colonists. Colonists whispered of rebellion in hushed tones. The seeds of discontent had been sown, and now they were beginning to take root. In dimly lit rooms, men and women spoke of freedom and resistance, their voices low but filled with resolve. The British, sensing trouble, sought to disarm the colonists. Their target military supplies hidden in Concord, a small town miles away. They believed that by seizing these supplies, they could quell the growing unrest and maintain control. The Crown's forces, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Francis Smith, prepared for a secret mission. They moved with precision and secrecy, hoping to catch the colonists off guard and prevent any further escalation. The colonists, however, were not easily fooled. They had their own network of spies and informants. These brave men and women risked their lives to gather information, passing it along through a web of secret meetings and coded messages. The whispers grew louder, carried on the wind to watchful ears. The fate of the colonies hung in the balance. Every decision, every action could tip the scales towards war or peace. The tension was palpable, a cloud of suspicion that loomed over everyone, waiting to burst.
And I want to thank all of the viewers and visitors real quick. And you can always read the articles of the thumbnails found in the video at inspiredamericahq.com. All you got to do is click right here where it says American Patriots, and then scroll down and find the article of the Patriot that you want to check out. Look right over here. We have Paul Revere. Click here. And here we are at the Paul Revere article, where you can read all about America's favorite Revolutionary War hero. And at the bottom, there's a video.
In the heart of Boston, a web of patriots operated in secrecy. These brave men and women, driven by a desire for freedom, met under the cover of darkness, plotting their next moves against the British Crown. Paul Revere, a silversmith by trade, was one of them. Known for his courage and unwavering dedication to the cause, he prepared to ride. His heart pounded with a mix of fear and determination, knowing the weight of his mission to warn the countryside of the approaching British. Another rider, William Dawes, received the same urgent call to action. Dawes, equally committed, understood the perilous journey ahead. He would take a different route, ensuring the message reached as many as possible. Time was of the essence, for the British marched under the cover of darkness. The fate of the colonies hung in the balance. As the clock ticked past midnight, Revere and Dawes slipped out of Boston, their horses' hooves pounding against the cobblestone streets. The night air was thick with tension, every sound amplified in the stillness. They rode through the night, carrying with them the hopes and fears of a nation on the brink of war. Each mile they covered brought them closer to their goal, but also closer to danger. The future of the colonies depended on their success, and they were determined not to fail. Under the pale light of the moon, Colonel Smith's men marched towards Concord. Their footsteps echoed in the stillness of the night. They were an imposing force, their muskets glinting in the darkness. Their mission was clear: to seize the rebels' weapons and quell the growing unrest. The soldiers marched with determination, their faces grim and resolute. They were prepared to face whatever lay ahead. Little did they know their every move was being tracked by watchful eyes. The colonists were ready. Revere and Dawes raced through the night, their horses breathing hard. They pounded on doors, rousing the sleeping militiamen with their cries. "The regulars are coming!" The message spread like wildfire, igniting the countryside with alarm. From town to town, the riders galloped, their message echoing through the darkness. Each shout of warning fueled the growing resistance. The colonists, though outnumbered and outgunned, would not be caught off guard. Dawn broke over Lexington, a small town near Concord. The air was thick with anticipation. Captain John Parker, a veteran of the 7 Years' War, rallied his men on the village green. They were outnumbered, but they would stand their ground. The minutes stretched into an eternity. The sound of drums beating in the distance shattered the silence. The British regulars were coming. Parker's men stood firm, their muskets loaded. The fate of a nation hung in the balance. The British marched onto the Lexington Green, their bayonets fixed. They formed a line, their faces hardened by battle. A tense standoff ensued, the air crackling with anticipation. Suddenly a shot rang out. No one knew who fired first. Chaos erupted. The British, their blood up, fired a volley into the colonial ranks. 8 colonists lay dead, their bodies sprawled on the green. The remaining Minutemen, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, were forced to retreat. The British had won the first encounter, but the fight was far from over. The British marched on to Concord, their confidence bolstered by their recent victory at Lexington. They moved with a sense of invincibility, their redcoats gleaming in the morning sun, their muskets held high. The air was thick with the scent of gunpowder, and the echoes of their triumph still lingered in their minds. They expected little resistance, but the colonists had regrouped, their numbers swelling with each passing moment. Farmers, blacksmiths, and shopkeepers alike joined the ranks, driven by a shared determination to defend their homes and their rights. The spirit of rebellion was alive and well, and it was growing stronger by the minute. They would not give up their weapons without a fight. Each musket and rifle was a symbol of their defiance, a tool of their resistance. The colonists were prepared to defend their arsenals with their lives, knowing that surrendering their arms meant surrendering their freedom. At the North Bridge, a contingent of British soldiers faced off against a determined group of Minutemen. These were not professional soldiers, but ordinary men who had taken up arms to protect their land and their liberty. The Minutemen stood their ground, their eyes fixed on the advancing redcoats. The tension was palpable. Then a shot rang out. It was a moment that would be etched in history, a single gunshot that shattered the silence and ignited the flames of revolution. The air was electric with anticipation, every heart pounding in unison. This time, there was no doubt. The colonists had fired the shot heard round the world. It was a declaration of their resolve, a signal that they would not be easily subdued. The sound of musket fire echoed across the bridge, a clarion call to all who yearn for freedom. The British, caught by surprise, found themselves on the defensive, their confidence shattered. They scrambled to regroup, their disciplined ranks thrown into disarray by the unexpected ferocity of the colonists' attack. They were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. The colonists, using their intimate knowledge of the terrain, executed swift and decisive maneuvers, encircling the British and cutting off their lines of retreat. The redcoats, once so sure of their superiority, now found themselves overwhelmed. The colonists, their blood boiling with righteous anger, fought with ferocity. Each man fought not just for himself, but for his family, his community, and the future of his fledgling nation. Their determination was unyielding, their courage unwavering. The British were forced to retreat, leaving behind their dead and wounded. The once proud soldiers of the Empire now fled in disarray, their ranks broken, their spirits crushed. The colonists had won a significant victory, one that would inspire countless others to join the fight for independence. The British retreat from Concord turned into a rout. Colonial militiamen swarmed from the surrounding countryside, firing from behind trees and stone walls. The British, exhausted and demoralized, were no match for the colonists' guerrilla tactics. The road back to Boston was long and bloody. Every step was contested. The British, once invincible in the eyes of the colonists, were now running for their lives. The events at Lexington and Concord sent shockwaves throughout the colonies. The shot heard round the world marked the beginning of the American Revolution. The colonists, once divided, were now united in their desire for freedom. The fight for freedom had begun. The echoes of that fateful day would reverberate through history, inspiring generations to come. The American experiment, born out of defiance and fueled by the ideals of freedom and self-determination, had taken its first uncertain steps.